Hello everyone, welcome to Teach 5. So in this video, let's look at the IELTS Essentials. So what do you mean by essentials? Essentials means important aspects that we need to keep in mind when we are doing IELTS exam. So first thing, let's see what is the first thing that we need to do. Improve your English. Improve your English means try reading the newspapers, try listening to the speeches, try watching the news. Like BBC News is the best thing that you can. Once you read and then listen, try to paraphrase them. Try to understand them in your own ways. Okay, so first point, use your English every day. Read, speak, listen, and write in English as often as you can. This is a proven way to improve your English and therefore your IELTS score. So IELTS is nothing but it's not based on your intellectual capacity. It is based on your English language, how you understand things. Okay, so have a kind of a group discussions with lots of people, with your friends and family in developing the English language. So that's I told you, listen to YouTube speeches of great people like Shiv Kera and then other great speakers. Okay, so and then listen to BBC News and listen to and read the lot of articles so that you can develop your English language. Listen to English language radio, television, and film. Try to listen to a variety of English accents, including American, Australian, British, Canadian, and then New Zealand. And New Zealand. So now in this video, so we are just explaining how to develop our English language. So when you come to IELTS listening, it's not that we have only American accent or British accent. It is everyone who speaks. A Chinese also may speak, an Indian also may speak. So get used to the different types of accent and different types of people's accent so that you can do your listening more vividly and then clearly. Read English publications wherever possible. Write letters, emails, or notes in English to practice your written skills. So keep writing SMS or emails to your friends and then write complaints to the officials so that you can develop your English language. And second thing is understand the test format and rules. So test format and rules, it's a Teach5 is a very professional institute where they bring out the essence of what is IELTS is all about. The first and foremost is understand the format of the test, what is listening is, what is reading is, and what is writing is, and what is speaking is, and how what are the rules if I'm doing the listening, what are the strategies that I need to find out. If I'm doing reading, what are the strategies? If I'm writing, we need to know how an evaluator evaluates our test, evaluation criteria, and speaking evaluation criteria, how to start and how to end, what has to be written in the introduction paragraph, what not. So it will clearly explain the entire thing. Training, the listening and the speaking components are the same for both tests, but the reading and writing components are different. So listening and speaking is same for the general, and reading and writing is different for the academic and general. Read the information for candidates booklet, which provides essential information about how to respond correctly to each part of the test. So when you go for the test, you will be given a kind of a booklet. So you have all the instructions in that, whether you need to write with a pencil or you need to write with a pen. So listening and reading definitely has to be written with a pencil, not the pen. If you write with the pen, you will be getting 0 for it. Right? So, and then follow the instructions carefully, what is written in the booklet. So accordingly, you can write the answers. You can also collect a copy of this form to your test center. Read the notice to candidates. So you can also get the instructions at the candidate's place itself. Get to know what each level on the IELTS band score table means. So get to know what is 6 bands, how many answers. For example, in listening, if I'm getting 27 answers correct, what is a band score for me? It is 6.5 bands. In listening, if I'm getting 30 answers correct, what is a band score for me? So get familiarized with the band score of IELTS so that you can focus your targeted score. Understand what the examiners are looking for in the speaking and writing test by reading the assessment criteria. So assessment criteria, for example, if you see, they will be looking at your fluency, they'll be looking at your task response, they'll be looking at your lexical resource, they'll be looking at your grammatical range and accuracy. So they'll be looking at your coercion and cohesion. So to understand all these concepts, If you can take the training from us, it will be clearly explained and then we will really help you to get a good score. Get the facts. Don't believe myths and rumors about the test. They will only distract you. So now most of the rumors is IDP is easier or British Council is easier. And people, their rumor is IDP is easy, whereas British Council is tough. So this rumor is not correct. IDP and British Council both are same. There is no difference in both the tests. So take the test confidently, whichever the way you want to take it, IDP or British Council. Okay, next. So practice sample questions. Practice sample questions. You can download the material from online. The Cambridge material book numbers like book number 1 to 13, it is available. Keep practicing them and then go and then write the exam. Okay. Next, try to feel relaxed on the day before your test. So before your test, don't be panicked because the more you practice, the more the questions rise. The more you practice, this the self content will be not up to the mark. So before the exam, get ready with your things like taking a passport ready and then taking the passport zero copyright of color photo the passport and then checking for your exam center. Go to the exam center and check where it is so that the next day you can freely go without any hesitations or without any difficulties to understand. On the day before your test, take the time to refresh your memory of the test rules, test format and location so that you feel as relaxed as possible. Read the information for candidates booklet again. This contains essential information to help you to do your best. Okay, so test taking tips in listening. So if you take briefly, let's discuss on what is that listening. At the beginning of each section, you will be given 30 minutes, 30 seconds. What has to be done when it is given 30 seconds? Just go through the questions and understand how to anticipate the answer. Before the recording starts, they will have you to follow the recording and identify the answer. Listen carefully for clues as to which stage of the recording are you listening to. Example words such as firstly, my next point to sum up. So that means the transitional words are very important. There are different types of transitional words. The transitional words are firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, at the end. And then second transitional words are like contrasting words, but even though all the focus on those sign words so that you get an accurate answer. These words will help you to identify which question you have reached. The next one is reading. So reading is a kind of a thing that you can help you to improve your scanning and skimming. Try to read the questions meaningfully. Try to understand the clue words and then try to paraphrase the sentence. To improve your performance in the reading test, you need to practice reading a variety of English tests. This will help you develop the ability to read quickly as is required under test conditions. The test includes in the reading test always contains the information you need to answer the question. So you won't have to use your own knowledge of a topic. That means all the answers that you want to find are there in the passage. So you don't have to look for anything else. Writing, be careful to use your own words because examiners will not include words copied from the question in the word count. So whatever the questions you have copying, there are some, for example, you have written the word see 3, 4 times. I think the examiners will not be counting those words. Try to use lots of synonyms, see, look, view, perceive, and witness. Make your position or point of view as clear as possible in your essay for academic writing task 2. The last paragraph should be a conclusion, which consists with the arguments you have included in your essay. So we'll explain you how to write the introduction paragraph. Introduction paragraph have to have the main topic and the thesis statement. And then the body paragraph, reason 1, reason 2, the 90% and the 10%, and what has to be done with the conclusion. So we'll be explaining you elaboratively when we come and join our sessions that are regularly happening from early morning to late nights. So you can choose any batch and then be with us as a part to get a good score. Speaking. So speaking, there are 3 parts. So speaking also we need to understand what is the level of speaking test the examiners. In the lead up to the speaking test, make sure you take the time to practice speaking English with friends at work and on the phone. You should also consider recording yourself so that you are confident speaking English during your test. So when you are speaking and then recording, you know the sentence structure that you made a mistake, grammar that you made a mistake, and then fillers. There are no right and wrong answers in the speaking test. The examiner will assess you on how well you can express your ideas and opinions in good English. Okay, so I've given you the essentials. This video we have discussed the essentials. So if you want to go deeper into our essentials, please do join us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what would you like us to post in the next video. View our upcoming batches at www.teach5.com or write to us at info@teach5. Thank you and have a nice day. See you. In this video, let's discuss IELTS speaking and what are the common mistakes. So 10 common mistakes to avoid. Okay, so this will help us to get a good score in our IELTS speaking. So what are those mistakes to avoid? First one is silence. So whenever the question is asked, do not give a long pause. Give a short pause. If you give a long pause, the examiner will think that you are not able to speak on that particular question and he will go on to the next. So different cultures have different attitudes to silence. But for English speakers, the attitude is one of near zero tolerance. It's fine to hesitate for a few seconds before speaking or between ideas, but silences of longer than 5 seconds will go down badly. Happily, there is a solution to this problem, and that's to learn some fillers expressions such as "that's a tough question" and "let me." So, if instead of giving the short answer, instead of giving silence when the question is asked, you can say that this question seems to be a bit complicated, or this question sounds to be not that closer understanding for me. I think I can understand this in a better form. So start with the fillers so that you are not giving the silence immediately. Once you are explaining this sort of a words, then you can think of what to speak next. So avoid silence of a longer pause so you will be asked to go to the next question, right? And the second mistakes to avoid is memorized answers. So the examiners are well trained. They can easily understand whether you have learned the answers or whether it is a spontaneous. So give a sign of spontaneity, not the memorized questions. If the examiner feels that you have memorized the question, he can ask his own questions to extend the time. The actual time is 11 to 14 minutes. You can take 10 minutes extra or 20 minutes extra to get the spontaneity from your side. See that you don't memorize the questions. Speak spontaneously. The examiner is very likely to notice if you try to recite an answer from memory, and there is a penalty for this. The telltale signs of a memorized answer include speaking in a written style of English, unnatural intonation, and the candidates attempting to rephrase the question to the one they want to answer. Any questions you try to memorize answers to are very unlikely to be asked. So it is much more effective to practice speaking about a wide range of topics before you take the test. So to see that you don't memorize the answer, give a tone of spontaneity rather than memorized or learned. So do not speak as if you have learned something. Second, overuse of transitional signals. What are transitional signals? So we keep on using on the other hand, firstly, secondly, even though, in addition to, because most of the people say that the more the transitional words you use, the more the score. Use the transitional words in appropriate places as limited as possible so that it makes a connection. It does not deviate from the topic. It's helpful to use a fewer signposting words, like firstly, for example, on the other hand. But if you overload your speech with this, you could actually damage your score. Sounding naturally, not like a signposting robot, should be your goal in IELTS speaking. There are also many words characteristics of formal writing, such as furthermore, moreover, and in addition, that are hardly ever used in speech and could actually make you sound less natural if you say them. So, moreover, further, in addition to, they are mostly used in writing and speaking. The words are used like firstly, secondly, for example, instance, on the other hand, but, because these are the words mostly used in speaking. So, try to use less transition words. See, and then try to use the transitional words appropriately. Do not use inappropriate, so where you lose your marks. So get aware of this transition signals. Next one is parroting the question. Parroting the question means what? Now, for example, the question is asked, what's your name? So the question is asked, what is your hobby? The parroting means my hobby is. So instead of say repeating the question as it is, try not to repeat the question as it is. Try not to repeat the question as it is. Instead, put it in a different form, put it in a different paraphrasing form. So what is your favorite hobby? To speak to say the truth, the hobby that I do it regularly is. That's where you can start. Okay, let's see. In the wild, a parrot is a bird that can mimic but not understand human speech. In IELTS, a parrot is a candidate who repeats the question back in a statement form. What is your favorite sport to watch on TV? My favorite sport to watch on TV is football. So this way of answering will lose the marks. As a scoring criteria of IELTS heavily rewarded those who can vary speech. Paraphrasing the words or structure of the question is a fast track route to a higher score. I'm always watching football on TV. So instead of saying my favorite sports to watch, instead of saying that, I do always watch sports, but the favorite thing that I do regularly watch is football. So giving a paraphrasing answer without repeating the question as it is as the examiner asked. This is the fourth mistakes that we do, and then please do avoid this. And the fifth one is answer the wrong question. So you will lose marks for coherence if your answer completely fails to address the question. So that means you are not answering exactly what the question is asked. So you're deviating from the topic. Ask yourself before you begin speaking if you are sure you have understood, and do not be afraid to ask the examiner for help, but be sure to avoid it. Okay, so now you are not answer the question. So that means do not give whatever way you want. If you can politely ask the examiner to explain the question, to explain it, but not always all the questions. Few questions can be understandable, not all the questions to ask and to get the clarification. Sixth mistake, saying I don't understand. Okay, there are much better ways to check for meaning, so learn them. You can use a straightforward request like, could you say that again? Okay, so don't ask, I don't understand. So use in a different form, I beg your pardon. Can you repeat the question because I don't understand what you said? Okay, put it in a different way. Don't rashly ask the examiner to explain. Ask as checking questions such as, do you mean? That shows you have at least partially understood the question. Okay, so do you mean to say this? Or do you have any other meaning? So do you mean to say this, or there is a different thing altogether? So this is the sixth mistake that you need to avoid. Seventh mistake is saying too much or too little. So people keep on talking in part one, keep it 6 sentences, and part three, keep to 6 to 7 sentences. Do not bore the examiner, putting a lot of ideas, and do not say very little. Okay, so a 6 sentence is must that you need to speak in the first and the third, and the second part at least 1 minute to 2 minutes. If you say too little, you miss the opportunity to show off your ability. So if you speak too little, then you are saying the examiner that you don't have much English language with you. So you are not the eligible candidate to go abroad. Speak more and then prove yourself that you can manage speaking English in abroad countries. If you say too much, you risk sounding less coherent and making more mistakes. So if you speak so much, you make a lot of mistakes. And if you speak so much, you also deviate the topic. As a general guide, answers of 2 to 4 sentences are fine in part one. Keep it 6. There are clear instructions about the length of speaking time in part 2. You should aim to say 3 to 6 sentences after each question in part 3. Okay, so 2 to 3 sentences or 6 sentences would be a good thing that you can use the sentences to speak. Seventh, mistakes to avoid. Eighth, poor pronunciation. The pronunciation, mother tongue influence does not matter in IELTS, but see that each and every word is clear, right? So you speak like an Indian, do not twist your tongue and confuse the examiner. Great ideas are worthless if the listeners can't make out your words. There's a good reason pronunciation accounts for 20%, 25% of the score in IELTS speaking, and that's because it's fundamental to spoken communication. If you don't have a proper pronunciation, if you're not saying the words clearly, speak slow and then clear. Let each and every word be pronounced well to get a good score. Before taking IELTS, you should find an opportunity to practice with native or native level speakers and get honest appraisals of your pronunciation. If they have trouble hearing your words, it's very likely that examiner will too. Okay, so try speaking to a person who has good accent, a good language, a good pronunciation. Get the feedback from him so that you know whether your pronunciation is clear. If he is clear, the examiner is also clear, then you get a good score. So eighth mistakes to avoid. Flat intonation. So English language is not the same language as we speak in mother tongue influence. You need to have the falling tone, rising tone, and then the same tone, stability tone, constant tone. Okay, so have whenever there is a full stop, have a falling tone. When there is a comma, rising tone. stress on the few important words, few important sentences, making it clear this sentence makes a very important. Even when you pronounce words clearly, flat intonation will make it difficult to follow what you say. We vary intonation, pitch, volume, and speaking speed in order to maintain the listener's interest and direct attention to our important ideas. Even IELTS examiners who are trained to listen carefully to everything a candidate says will find a flat intoned response difficult to follow, and your response may be marked down for both pronunciation and coherence as a result. Okay, this is the ninth mistake to avoid, and then have a clear and then intonation, have a falling tone, rising tone. Asking for the examiner's opinion. You are there to answer the question, not ask them. The examiners will politely redirect to question back your way if you try to stall for time by saying, I don't know what to do. What do you think? If you really don't have any ideas, just say, I am afraid I know nothing about this topic, and wait for the next question. Okay, so ask for the examiner's opinion. So just say, I am afraid I don't know anything, but still I will try to respond. At least you have covered 3, 4 sentences. Okay, so if you want to understand many more mistakes that you do, please do join us. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what would you like us to post in the next video. View our upcoming batches at www.teachfy.com or write to us at info@teachfy.com. Thank you.